Hello and welcome in. We're going to be talking about different ways that emotions cards programs can be run both expressive and receptive. And we're going to start everything with a field of one. We've got our 5-piece token board here. It's Encanto. See, here's Bruno. So we're going to be using that, and we're going to do this in the example of a mass trial. So our learner needs 5 tokens before they can access their reinforcer, which in this case is the pen. They can see it. They know tokens. First tokens, then pen. And this is going to be where we're going to introduce our card. Remember, check out your program instructions with your BCBA. Check out the SD. In this case, our SD is going to be, how do they feel? And if your learner says excited, that's correct. Awesome. Good job. You get Antonio. Now we're going to go back again, and we are going to use the same picture. So we're going to say again, our SD, how do they feel? So in this case, our learner is going to error and say Antonio. Well, our expected response is excited, so we can give a partial verbal prompt, which would be X. And if they say excited, that's right, excited, we can say, and give them Louisa. So now we're going to come back and we're going to represent. In this case, we're using the same image. How do they feel? And they will say Louisa in this case. So we're going to error correct again, and we're going to start with that partial verbal and say X. And let's say they say X instead of excited. We're going to then give a full verbal prompt and say excited. Now, if they say excited, then we can give them a token. That's right. She feels excited. Okay, now we're going to try this again, and we're going to prompt fade. So we're going to go back. We had our full verbal prompt was the last prompt that worked. Let's try, in this case, a partial verbal. So we've represented again, and we're going to give our SD. How do they feel? X. You go right into the prompt. And if they say excited, that's awesome. Good job. Here is Isabella. So now, hopefully, we're going to get an independent response here, and then they'll be able to get their reinforcer, and we'll be done with this mass trial. So we represent the SD. How do they feel? The learner says excited. So right away, you are putting that token on, giving them their reinforcer, and we have finished that mass trial of 5. Awesome. Good job, guys. Now we're going to show another way that you can run this and take our tokens back off. This is going to be our second run of 5. So here we go. We're going to use different pictures this time. And when we get to the 4th token, we're going to throw in a distractor. So all these pictures, for the most part, are excited. So I'm going to present this picture this time. How do they feel? Your learner says excited. Awesome. We're going to give them that praise. We're going to put that token on. Where's our pen? Hang on. Our pen should be back here because they want to see, like, hey, we're working for that pen. Always run preference assessments to see what it is that they want to work for, too. Even if it's just a break, that's cool. 5 tokens, then break. First, then language. So here we've got Bruno. That's our first one. Now we're going to take out this next picture, also excited. How do they feel? Your learner says excited. Good job. Here's Mirabelle. That's awesome. You don't always have to be like, this is this person. Here's the token. You could just be like, great job, and give the token. But that's sometimes how I roll. So here's our next picture. How do they feel? Your learner says excited. Oh my goodness, good job. So now, like I was saying, how I primed you, we're going to throw in a distractor card. So I'm going to say, how do they feel? And your learner could either say surprised, which would be a correct answer, and they would get Louisa, or they can error and say excited or something else. And in that case, you would go ahead and give a partial verbal prompt again. So you would say, sir, and if they say surprised, you'd be like, that's right, they feel surprised. So in this case, you could either give them the token, or you can go back for an independent answer and prompt fade that. Now that we've gone through the prompt, sir, now we're going back and representing the SD. How do they feel? And if they say surprised, then we can give them that token. Awesome. And lastly, we're going to bring this guy back here. How do they feel? And if they say surprised, we're going to go back again. And we're going to go X. And then if they say surprised, we'll say excited. Then they say excited. Then we back it up. I haven't given that token yet. I want that independent response. I'm going to try for it. So I'm going to represent. How do they feel? This time I'm going back with the prompt. They're going to say excited. I'm going to say, that's awesome. That's right. They're excited. How do they feel? And if your learner says excited, we can get that token. Ha, ta-da. There we go. That's our first run. That's our expressive field of 1 here. So I'm going to move those cards out of the way. And what I like to do, like while I'm running sessions and things like that, is I like to have all of my materials like pre-set up and kind of in a good place. So while my kiddo's on a break or something like that, I know what's going on. So even if that were to be the case where I don't have my next set of materials set up, I can set that up while they're on their break or playing with their reinforcer. So technically this is over here. I've still got it, yes. So, but now, eventually we're going to come back. This is just an example of running another program now. You don't have to be doing this. Like this doesn't have to be your session structure. So the point of this part is the example for the field of 2. And our target here, our SD, is going to be touch who feels tired. Sometimes an SD might be who feels tired, or something like that. Again, for the millionth time, check with your BCBA's program instructions. But for all intents and purposes, touch who feels tired is what we're going for. And the way we're going to present this one is we're going to do some prompt fading. So let's say that our learner has failed baseline. They got 3 incorrects. We're coming back. We're putting this into intervention. And this is the first time we're going to teach this program. So we're going to do some errorless learning here. So over here, this is me, by the way. I'm both people here, but also the learner. Also, I have to learn where my camera is. But yes, so we're going to present our SD, touch who feels tired. And in this case, I am full physical prompting, touching who feels tired. And we're going to give Isabella, because we did it. You always want to save the biggest social praise for an independent response, but you still do want to praise those correct answers. So that's our first one. We're keeping this in the same spot because we haven't gotten it independently yet. You want to be able to know, okay, they for sure independently know this guy's tired. If we switch them up, then we risk them just always knowing this is the one, I'm always going to touch this one if I want it independent. There's things you can do with that, but for, again, all intents and purposes, here's our field of 2 again. We're keeping this here, and we're going to represent and prompt fade some more. So touch who feels tired. In this case, I'm going to move my learner's wrist, and they're going to do the touching, but I'm putting them in the correct position. So I'm like helping them out there. It's partial physical because I still was doing some touching with their arm. So there we go. We've got 2 down now. We're going to fade this, in this case, to a gestural prompt. So I'm going to represent, and I will say touch who feels tired. And I am going to tap this guy. If my learner taps this guy after, then we've got Bruno. Awesome. Cool. So we'll make sure our cards are separate there. Touch who feels tired. The next prompt we would do, which is even less intrusive, is a positional prompt. And so our learner is going to touch that one after we've put it closer to them positionally. And that's right. That's who feels tired. And last, we're going to aim here for an independent reply. So touch who feels tired. And if our learner does not need any prompts, they get their reinforcer. They get big social praise. That's right, you touched who felt tired. That's so good. And oh yes, learner, go ahead and take your pen. And we're going to put these guys aside. So that's our field of 2. There were 2 cards in the field. That's how we gauge that. Next, we are going to set up for a field of 3 example. And I move my cards over here, reset this over here. I've limited space to make this video, but I know what I'm talking about, so that's a good thing. Improv with me. And that's the thing too. You might be running DTT programs like on a couch, you might be running them on the floor, and you might be running them at the table. So get used to running them where you can and where things are going to work for work some NET learning in there too. So you can do some playing together and work on programs, on break that they don't really realize they're programs. Anyway, back to this. So we've got 3 cards right now. 1, 2, 3. And in this set, our target SD is going to be touch who feels sad. So in the first round, we're going to say touch who feels sad, and our learner touches sad. So we're going to say, that's right, that's sad. They feel sad. They're crying. You can even point that out. So now they've got a token. Now we're going to mix them up. They're not in the same spot anymore. I can't remember where the other two were, but that one definitely moved. So again, touch who feels sad. And then we're going to have a touch. That's correct. Very good. And we're going to mix it up. So now we're going to represent again. Everybody's in a different spot now. Touch who feels sad. And they touch angry. So what we're going to do is go into least to most intrusive prompts. We're going to do that positional prompt. Oop. Error. This is real life stuff too. If you're moving too fast, that can happen. So beware. Erase that from your minds or not. It's a learning opportunity. But here we go. We're going to go back to this positional prompt. They're going to touch that. Very good. That's right. That's who feels sad. Now, I'm not moving the sad card again because I want them to have that independent response again, really confirm that this is who's sad before we move it. So if I go back and say touch who feels sad, and they do touch, very good. So now we've got one more. We're going to mix it up again and say touch who feels sad. Let's say in this case, there is no response. So you're going to wait 5 seconds. If there's no response, you're going to go into a positional prompt. And if they touch, that's very good. That's right. She feels sad. So here, again, I want that independent response. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say touch who feels sad. And if they can give me that independent response, I am going to give them that Isabella token. They are going to get the pen. We are going to clean this up. And guys, we are on our last stretch of this video where we are going to do one more mass trial of 5, and we're going to set up a field of 4. So in this case, with my little space, as these videos go on, I hope to get a fancier assemblage of space. But here we go. We've got nervous, we've got frustrated, we've got confused, and we have bored. So here's our array. Also, another reminder, you can mix and match. So you can, as long as you have the target card in, which in this case is going to be frustrated, you could pick a different frustrated and have that frustrated here and have these same cards, or you can just replace everything. You can do what you'd like. It depends on where your learner kind of is and how you want to teach and how they're learning. So in this case, we're just going to stay with these 4 cards. And we'll mix them up again because that's perfectly fine to do as well. So I will say touch who feels frustrated. And they got it. That's right. Here's Antonio. And we're going to mix them up again. And with there being 4 cards, and it's a little bit trickier because everything's even mixed up a little bit more. Let's say that your learner is not paying attention now. They're kind of looking away. They're really aiming for that pen. Whoops, we forgot to put that guy back here. So they're really looking for it. They're reaching over. They're not looking at the cards. Maybe they're just kind of grabbing before you even ask the question. So something you can do is you can have them scan the cards. So in which case we can just look. We're pointing here, gesturing to here's our first card. So let's look. We don't even have to say what it is. Let's look. Look. Look, and let's say they're still not looking, maybe you guide their eyes back over with a small little block to looking somewhere else, and then we're still looking here, and then they look, good job, and look, cool. We're going to give another little scan, we're looking both ways, we're not trying to point anything out. Now, touch who feels frustrated. So in this case, they will, and that's great. Let's mix them up just a little bit this time. Cool. Our learner's still not looking around, so maybe we're scanning again, and we're just giving a token for them scanning without me having to shield their eyes to kind of look. Fantastic. Good looking. We're going to make sure that we reinforce the good looking too. So now we're following directions, and we're going to further this with some behavioral momentum. So it's going to be small tasks that they already know how to do super fast. So in this case, we're going to give a token for 2 behavioral momentum tasks. Someone say, clap your hands. And they clap their hands. Good job. Ready? Touch your nose. They'll touch their nose. That's awesome following directions. Ready? Touch who feels frustrated. And they will in this case, and get that last token. So we went through a whole lot of stuff in this video, and yeah, congratulations for making it to the end. If you have any questions or comments, please throw them down in the comments section, and we'll be doing more of these videos. Whoop! Make sure you take your reinforcer on the way out.